The Game. So, as you guys know, The Game likes to be bipolar. Here's another proof of him being bipolar. He simply denies that 50 Cent is responsible for his career. And as we know on Drink Champs, he gave 50 Cent props for being responsible for his career. He said he did more. 50 Cent did more for my career than Dr. Dre. Jimmy Iovine did more for my career than Dr. Dre, blah, 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 blah. Now he's flip-flopped and said 50 Cent hasn't done shit for my career. And if it doesn't matter if 50 came into my career or not, I would still be The Game. So let's play the clip because this is exactly what 50 was talking about when it comes to flip-flopping. There's always something with The Game when it comes to flip-flopping. And I respect The Game as an artist. And he has a point here, though. He has somewhat of a point here. So let's not completely shit on what The Game is saying. He does have a point here. So somewhat of a point. So let me play the clip, and then you guys can kind of, we'll talk about it after. So
even with these niggas, I like lo and behold, I was in a group with those niggas, but I wasn't breaking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in half with G Unit. I ain't see them niggas until it was time to work. So I didn't grow up I grew up to Fat Joe. Like on Fat Joe music, on Pun, on Terror Squad, Cuban Link, like I was locked in. Them niggas, like that shit when I was listening, when I first started smoking weed, it was the Cuban Links album, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I was confused because I thought like I was supposed to be loyal to like where my heart was, and my heart wasn't. Like a lot of people like, oh, you nigga 50 put you on. No, 50 did not put me on, bro. People don't understand that at that time in LA, I was it. I was the nigga. So that's why Jimmy took me and told 50 he was putting me in G Unit, and 50 accepted because, nigga, my name was ringing bells in the streets of hip hop. I was already on. So it didn't matter if I signed with Diddy or Irv or whoever the fuck, I was still gonna be Game. I'm not saying that like Aftermath and Dre and 50 and those niggas didn't help, because that is my story. But if I would have signed the Terror Squad, nigga, I would still be The Game. It's no 50 was talking about we beefing with these niggas. I like lo and behold, 50 was talking about.
So yeah. I get what The Game is saying on this situation. He's saying basically, hey, I already had a buzz. It didn't matter if Dr. Dre signed me. It didn't matter if 50 helped out. It didn't matter the situation. I would still be The Game. You could technically argue that with anything. You could argue that with 50's career. He had a buzz already. Without Eminem, he didn't need Eminem. He had record labels trying to sign him. He could have signed with somebody else and still been 50 Cent. The argument there is, would you be as big as you are when you signed to them? Now, I know 50's career wouldn't be as big, 100%. 50 with his buzz, he probably would have done, if he'd signed with somebody else, let's just say he decided to sign with, I don't know, Diddy, let's just say. Diddy says, hey, 50, they have a meeting, which they did a while ago. Diddy says, I want to sign you. You're going to be a Bad Boy Records artist. Diddy's a great executive producer. I'm sure Diddy could get him a hit record. He would be out of there. How much would he sell? My prediction would have been 4 million records, maybe 5 million, maybe. And 50 had a huge buzz, huge buzz. The hottest thing in the streets, period. And that wasn't just in New York. That was all over. He did about 4 or 5 million records, which is great for your first album. That is amazing. What do you have in the club? No, Dr. Dre produced that. What do you have? All these other records, 21 Questions, all this stuff that was in-house, Aftermath, Shady. Never. Plus, you got the push of the biggest artist at that time, Eminem, who just got done doing back-to-back albums, over 1 million copies first week. Back-to-back. Anything that Eminem co-signed at the time was going, no matter what. So you got a mixture of that, and then you got a mixture of a guy with the biggest buzz at the time combined. That's why Get Rich or Die Trying was such a big album. That's why he did 2-point-something million copies of the album within 3 weeks. That's why the album sold 14 million records to this day. And In the Club is literally the biggest song possibly ever in hip-hop, you could argue. Because it's because of Dr. Dre's production, Eminem's input, Eminem's co-sign, Dr. Dre's co-sign, all this stuff in-house, Nate Dogg on the hook of 21 Questions, all these small things that made 50 so big. Going to The Game, let's just say Game, I personally, I was a kid at the time, so I can't really speak on this, but I don't remember hearing about Game before, he really got put on. I didn't even know Game existed like that. Like, but then again, I was a kid. I was like 8, 9 years old. So, was I really into hip hop like that? Back then, it was harder to spread music out than it is now. Now, if you're popping in anywhere, you could be popping in Alaska and your music can still get, people can still listen to it. But Game saying basically in LA, hey, I was the hot shit at the time. I was that guy. So regardless, if Dre would have signed me or 50 would have put me in the group, I still would have been popping. That probably would have been true. But would his debut album sell 5 million copies? No. That's how we do in Hate It or Love It is what catapulted the Game to selling 5 million copies. It's that production from Dr. Dre, that cosign from 50, who was the hottest guy at the time, is what catapulted him to a different level with 5 million copies sold your first week. Granted, he would have been even bigger if he stayed with them, but you know what happened with the situation. That's all history. So I get what Game is saying. Basically, I would have been the Game regardless. You probably wouldn't have been as big, though. That's the thing, is the argument there. So to now, to jump and say, in Drink Champs, hey, 50 and Jimmy Iovine did more for my career than Dr. Dre did. Now you're flipping and saying, man, I would have been hot shit even if I had 50 or not. 50's side of the story, of course, as we all know, is that the Game was struggling to write hooks. 50 came in to fix the situation, and that's why he got involved in G Unit, so on and so forth. 50 helped him out, gave him hit records, and then that's why Game's career catapulted. Regardless, I think the best way to show like proof of this is when Game left G Unit and Dr. Dre and then did Doctor's Advocate, the album went on to sell, I believe it was about 2 million, roughly 2 million copies. You could argue 3, but there's no proof. RIA, there's no certification, actually. There's only a gold certification, meaning he only sold 500,000. But at the time, that was like in 2006, the certification, 2007, something like that. So by now, it probably would have gone platinum in America, maybe even double platinum. So let's just say he sold 2 million copies. So you go from getting a co-sign from Dr. Dre and 50 Cent for 5 million copies sold to leaving them, having beef with them, having issues with them, to selling 2 million copies. You see the difference in that? That's a huge difference. That's 3 million people that said, hey, I'm not going to fuck with this album anymore because he's not fucking with 50 or Dre. Now, did Game continue to have a successful career? Yeah. Was it as successful as the first album? No. But then you can also argue it was because Game was a new artist and everybody liked what was new at the time, which was Game. And then once the second album came out, people already heard him, already got a whiff of him. They got tired of him, kept him moving. That's another argument. Regardless, Game needs to acknowledge Dre, 50, Jimmy, Eminem. That whole camp over there did something for his career, catapulted it to the next level. So the Game, this is the whole situation flip-flopping. He'll sometimes switch his mind, say this and that. And I get it because now he's having issues with 50. They're trolling each other online, so it makes sense.